Tango 1 at the top. We're at Pop-Up Vehicle. 10-4, Tango 1. You have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action, find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're doing the Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
Did you clap? Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I have poison ivy again. Look at it.
Oh,
Starting to bubble. I get it every year, and you know how every time you get it easier and you get it worse.
so does it spread?
Yeah, like it'll like this time though, I feel like I have it right now, so I'm gonna put the cream that I got last time on it. The last time I had to go get like these like steroids that like you can only take for like 5 days, like
Like a pill or
it was like
cream?
like a pill, like like I broke out. It was wow, that was strong as hell for a week, but like
Traps this guy.
yeah. So
I love poison ivy.
yeah. Speaking of supplements, though, before we get started, this episode of Tango 1 Podcast brought to you by HQ Nutrition, taking my focus like I do before every single episode, so I can dial it in with this new guest of ours that I'm looking forward to having today. So our guest today is Dave Hunter. Dave is the VP and a partner at the Drive magazine, which is like probably Windsor's, I think, most recognizable magazine. I think
Thanks,
you would
Tony.
say yes, it is the Windsor's most
Absolutely, it
recognizable.
is. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And we're gonna talk about all kinds of things today. Whatever we talk about, wherever this thing goes. But you're
Sounds
a
so
guy
fun.
that likes to talk, and I'm looking forward to having you. So welcome.
Thanks, dude. Enjoy your pill.
Yeah,
He took the red pill, not the blue pill.
you're supposed to take 3, but I only have 1 left. So Dustin, send me some, please.
Hello, Neo.
So if you guys are interested in grabbing that, go to hq.ca and you can hqcanada.ca and use my code TANGO15. All right, Dave. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just start right away. Like the Drive magazine and you know where. Let's start maybe how it was established and how you got into it. I'd love to know that story. We talked briefly over dinner one time, and we had have a few drinks by that point, so I'd like to hear it kind of fresh.
Yeah, you know what? It's always good to kind of go down memory lane, right? And I mean, there's a lot of pride that went into what we did, and it seems like yesterday. I mean, it's going on 22 years. So, shorter version is in 2000. We saw an opportunity to buy a magazine, and I had come from a competitor. I worked there for 3 years, wasn't happy. As an entrepreneur, I saw the opportunity to make money for myself rather than for somebody else, and the opportunity was a golden egg. And it was a conversation that I had with the previous owner who had started it, Kevin Kavanaugh, in a jewelry store at Rosser Reeves, and he said, "Hunter, I want to sell the Drive." And I said, "What do you want for it?" It was 10 grand. Okay. So bought it. Partner and I at the time came together, took it over, kind of revamped what the content was going to feature, how we were going to kind of quarterback our experience, and kind of change what we thought was going to be the way Windsor and Essex County residents would look at a magazine and enjoy it and embrace it and be responsive to it. So it was the first 10 years, it was a roller coaster. It was really, really, really tough. I mean, there was a lot of competition. There was a lot of undercutting. There was a lot of, I always say, dirty pool in the field. And we had to pivot and adapt. And things kind of shifted a little bit where we were, doing very well financially, and it was making significant money, and everybody was, having a good time. We had a nice office. We had a lot of team players on board. And then in 2010, it kind of stopped. We disbanded, and we basically figured out that we don't need the big office, and we don't need all the, the bells and whistles, and we're going to kind of basically go on a much finer operating.
It's almost like people did for COVID.
100%.
So you guys like
minus the pandemic.
you guys had like an 8-year jump on the.
Yeah,
That's interesting. That's interesting. What was your background though? So you said you were working for the competitor. You don't have to talk about the competitor. What was your background though?
You're gonna love this. I went to school to be a cop.
Well, I went to school to be an architect and became a cop. So.
There you go.
We should have switched.
Yeah, I moved from Sarnia to Windsor. Took the criminology and social course at the university. Then took journalism at St. Clair, figuring I'd sharpen my report writing skills. In one of my classes, the publisher of the magazine that I worked for was speaking, and at the end of his speech, he had said, I'm looking for a sales guy. Me at 22, I put my hand up and I said, "Are you serious?" He says, "Yeah." He goes, "Come and see me and give me your resume." So that's how that transition happened. So as I prolonged and got along the way with the advertising world, I really fell in love with the people. I loved the camaraderie. I loved that business sense of, it wasn't the same thing day in, day out.
Right.
It was just cool. And as I started to kind of step back from the police spotlight, and I did my training, I did my PSTAT stuff at different various colleges. Like, they had courses that you did the written, you did the physical. I realized that I don't think this was for me. And I mean, this is a 5-year all through high school dream. OPP, had books, was ready to rock and roll. I became a big brother and volunteered. I worked with Les Bronze Removals and Services, so I did body removal. So I did all this stuff leading up to it, but then realized that I thought, you know what, this may not be for me. And it's probably good, because if I had a sidearm, I probably would have been. No, I'm just kidding. It was one of those things where I made the right choice, I think. I look back now. There's days where I just think, what could have been, and I would have been then probably 22 years in the force, which is pretty crazy.
Right.
So I would have been
just about
6 to 8 years away from retirement.
You'd have been at that point where you hate your life,
Yeah.
right now. Like that's like
I want out.
They say like the first 10 years it's amazing. The second 10 years, somebody said it's the first 10 years you really need them. The second 10 years they really need you, and the last 10 years you hate each other.
Yeah.
That's
you don't see anybody.
How it goes.
You don't see anybody. I'm out of here.
That's funny you say that. So like creative writing and like just being able to write is like the one thing that I think I was actually good at that in school. Is the only thing I ever remember. Miss Harrison Irv. The only thing I ever got anything, like, I got kicked out of her class every other day, but I actually got a decent mark in there, and it's the only thing that I really applied from school into my job, because you had to like be able to say or write what you did, which is one of the challenges people really have.
Yep.
And that's a weird thing. So
that's how it kind of flipped, right? And it did the 180.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So then, after 2010, we kind of sent everybody, some people went home to work from home. We didn't need the big office, right? We saw
Was there internet then?
Oh yeah.
I'm like trying to think.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we were
2010. There was definitely internet.
Oh yeah. There was internet when we started. I mean, it was a week.
Right.
I think it was like dial-up AOL. Had the free 100 hours CD. Remember those things?
Yeah.
But it was in 2018 where Paul St. Pierre had approached me and wanted me to come over and work at Landscape Effects Group of Companies and help him with what he was doing. And then in a conversation in his backyard, he said, "Hunter, I want to buy the drive." And I said, "Paul, the drive's not for sale." And he goes, "Everything's for sale." And he smiles and he throws me a pad of paper and a pen. He goes, "Put a number down." And no shit, he goes, "Put a number down." He goes, "I'll be back in 5 minutes." So I'm like, well, let's see how serious he is. And throws it down. He comes back over. He goes, "Okay," just like that. And I remember leaving the house. Going, holy shit, did that really just happen? And I called my wife and I said, "Babe, I think I just sold the drive." She goes like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I think I just sold the drive." So a few months went down the road. We were back and forth with lawyers and stuff like that. And the rest is history, man. Like I sold it to Paul. And I did it because I knew that he was capable of being able to take what we tried to get over the mountain, and he was going to take it over the mountain, and he was going to launch it from the top of the mountain and put it in orbit, because it was going to completely change not only the way that we did things, but it was going to change the tempo of the mag. It was going to change the pulse. It was going to change everything. Like the financial backing to do what we did and have done couldn't have been done the way that I was going. Right? It was just kind of pacing along. So I owe Paul, a ton of gratitude and praise and thanks, because without him it wouldn't look to where it's at today. So it was a conversation that we had about a year and a half ago, and he said, I want to make you my partner, and I think it's time that you run it. So I went back to basically running my old business, and he has.
Had you stepped away in the interim?
We had, yeah.
There was like the like usually in those things they write in an advisory role type thing.
Yeah, so there was the first 2 years that I was there, I had a really difficult time kind of wrapping my head around not being in control.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Well, when you go full speed for 18 years and you know who's doing what, who's writing what, who's shooting what, to being left in the dark. Like there were times when nobody told us who was on the cover, what the stories were. It was to the point where it got so dark for me. I got into a really hard depressive state because of it, right? And unfortunately, I turned to wine and basically started abusing alcohol because I was just suppressing all of the emotion and all of the pain that it really was. It was a really shitty moment in my life, right? Finally cleaned up, went to treatment. So I don't drink that often, and things have gotten tenfold. So I had basically, when that started to go down that dark path, I knew that I had to leave. I knew that I had to disconnect. I knew I had to say goodbye to something that I loved, and I had a conversation with him. I said, what, thank you for everything you've done, but it's time for me to go. And we hugged it out, and he didn't want me to leave. But I left, and it was basically a year to the day, which was really creepy. So the day I left and the day I came back was almost 364 days. So when he called me back and he said, Hunts, he goes, I want you to come back and I want you to be my partner. And I just knew it was yes. Like it was that easy to say yes. So that year that I was gone, I didn't pick up the magazine. I didn't think about the magazine. I disconnected a phone number that I had carried for almost 20 years. I wanted nobody to call me. I didn't want to talk about the drive. I didn't want to hear about the drive. I mentally had to get it out, air it out. So when I came back, I was clear-minded. I was focused. I was driven, no pun intended. And it was like, let's go. Let's get this shit going. Because I was hungry and I had something to prove. And it's been pretty wild.
That's amazing, man. Like, it's funny how so many people have like kind of hit that bottom point and then bounce back up to and usually like it's alcohol. Man, alcohol has so much to do with so many of it. Like I barely drink anymore, and I think I felt the same way about the police fire. I think I could, if the police called and they needed somebody, I could go back today and be fine. But I think like at some point I just like I gotta leave this place and reset. And it's so weird how that works and how like you can. But once you find that reset button, man, it's like you're better than you ever were.
It was like the second coming of Christ. It really was. It was
I mean, not telling people to go like booze yourselves into the ditch and then bounce back, but like
it wasn't. I didn't become like a raging alcoholic. It was just I knew that I was suppressing the feelings by not thinking about it because I was drinking. I was having a good time. I was, interacting with people, and I just put it under the carpet, right? And at the end of the day, putting it under the carpet, it's still there in one way, shape, or form. It's always going to be there, right? So doing the steps to go to treatment and finding the underlying issues, which were far more than just the drive that I
they go way back.
Oh man, like stuff that I was 10 years old, like they dug it deep, and there was there's just one of those moments where you just realize that you know what, you can't do it yourself.
Yeah, man.
And don't be ashamed to ask for help. And it was that moment where they always say surrender, but it was like, I'm just like, I'm in, like, I'm done. You've got me, let's go. I've got 19 days to prove to myself that I'm going to do this. And it was all the underlying issues of talking it over with people that just really brought clarity. So I'm moving faster now at 47 years old than I did at 27 years old for a lot of reasons. Obviously not being hungover and coming to work is pretty big deal. And then just the energy level, right? You feel alive. And Paul gave me that opportunity, in a basket to say, "Here, man, I'm sorry. Let's do what we should have done from the beginning, and let's go to war." And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Every issue is getting better and better. The advertising support has been crazy. The content, the team that we have, is second to none. There's nobody, and I'll put money on it. There's nobody that has the type of camaraderie and the type of relationships in their business in the magazine world than we do at the Drive.
Well, you spend more time with the people you work with than you do with your family, right? So it's super important. But a couple things you hit on too, which are huge. Putting you said the issues under the rug. So avoiding triggers, avoiding those situations, not dealing with them, not feeling them, feeling it out and then letting it go is like you're holding that beach ball under the water. And at some point, we've all done it. It's gonna pop up, and it's gonna be not when you decided.
Yep.
It's not gonna be when you're at home and not bothering anybody. It's gonna be at the worst times, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's a huge thing you had. Here's a question for you. So actually, we've had a pretty stressful couple. I have pretty stressful couple weeks in here. You know some things that are privied right now. They're gonna come out, some bigger things that we're dealing with. That not dealing with, they're exciting things, but it's stress nonetheless. And then we had a couple of bad injuries that have happened, and stressing me out a little bit. And last night I was like sitting there watching the hockey game with my kids. I felt like I wanted to fucking drink so bad. And I avoided it. But man, like that's the worst. You're like, it's still there, man. It's still, whatever that demon is, it's still there. It's in you and it wants to pop out. Like,
right, it does, right? And it's, it's
sparkling water. I'm like, where's the goddamn sparkling water?
I'll tell you the trick. If you ever want to go out with your buddies and you want to get away from the, oh, come on, man, just have one. Oh, come on. Like I was out last night at Beach Grove. They had the member guests, and Paul had a bunch of people over at his house, and it was just that. You just walk around with a small glass with a cut line on the top of sparkling water, and they'll just assume it's vodka water, or they'll assume it's gin and tonic, and you just walk around, and as long as you're holding it, nobody's gonna say shit to you.
It's a nice move.
Yeah, it's and it works. So it does.
It's a nice move. I do. You know what? It's odd because I love a drink. I love having a good drink or two. That night that we went for dinner, we had a nice bottle of wine. Like not the two of us, it was like split between it. I had maybe one, or two Manhattans, like really good drinks. I like to do that. 3 drinks, have great conversation. It's my problem is that like it's usually turns in. In the past would turn into 20.
Well, it's easy to do, right?
And then I'd be done for 3 days, and then all the shit that comes in the next 3 days is worse than the actual
anxiety,
headache.
Oh, anxiety, guilt.
Yeah, 100%.
And we're dragging our ass tenfold because we're not 19 years old anymore, right? So it hurts. They always say the older you get, the harder it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it.
Learn from us, kids.
Yeah, learn from a couple of guys who bounced back.
The veterans.
Yeah, imagine. I always wonder, but you're where you are because you should be here right now. Like I always wonder, what would I be if I would have like made these steps 10 years ago, and I wouldn't be in the same place. So I guess you can't regret it.
Nope.
But like if somebody can learn from this, if you're a young cat listening to this and you want to be successful, man, like dial it in. Like we were joking about DeFazio earlier.
Yeah.
That guy, he's doing that 75 hard right now, and like. Even though you're doing more things than you could ever do in a day, like you've removed alcohol and you've removed a lot of things and you have to schedule tightly, it makes you into a machine. 100%. And he's accomplishing more in like 30, 40 days than you would. Like, it's wild.
Mike DeFazio is the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things that I want to go back on that I think that are kind of important because there's 2 things that, if there's somebody that's watching this podcast that can take away from our conversation, there's 2 things you can't control in life. And this, I apply this as much as I can on a daily basis if I need to. You can't control the future, and you can't control the past. And if you can think about that, right? And there's another saying that I use often, which is make reversible decisions quickly and irreversible decisions slowly. So if you apply that stuff in everyday life and you really just take a second just to think about it, it changes the game. It really does. Because then you're not worrying about the what ifs, right? And the what ifs can kill people.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just, as a business owner, like, what if this, or what if this happened, or what if that happened, right? And it eats at you. And it consumes you. And, if you can apply that, you can't control the future and you can't control the past, you're going to have a shit ton more fun.
Yes, 100%. I think that's great advice to live by. Had no idea the podcast is going to go this way. That's honestly why I love doing this so much. And you must find that with the Drive. Like, you interact with most people that are going to be involved there. Yeah, like you're not just sending a writer. Like you actually come and like sit down and chat, right? Like,
I'm hands on. I mean, I've been doing this for half of my life, right? And I still love doing it the way I do it.
That's awesome.
Like when a magazine comes out, when we get the new issue that comes out for our printer, we get 2,000 copies that are sent to our office, and we give those copies to advertisers and to our distribution racks throughout the area. And I always, and still do to this day, will go to every advertiser that I signed thank you. And I hand it to him. And because I have OCD, sometimes I go and fill up my racks with some help. We can hire kids to do it and kind of, but I like to know that it's done and done right? So there's a lot of pride that's still involved after all these years, right? I love going to work. I fucking love going to work. The office it's kick-ass. We've got...
So you're in an office again?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where,
I'm
are you
kind
able
of
to say that or no?
1120 or 1125 County Road 42, just near the Atlas Tube Center.
Cool.
Yeah, and Paul's got it done up to the nines. So it's a group of companies that are in that office. So there's landscape effects, design, build. Then there's the drive. There's landscape effects, snow. So Paul's got just a series.
Yeah, I gotta
of
get in with
companies.
those guys this year. My snow rule is brutal this year, and they were doing the neighbors. I'm like, what the fuck? This
Yeah,
guy's
yeah,
it's coming at 4 in the morning. It's already done. I'm like,
I'll give you $20. I'll give you $20 in the mailbox.
Yeah,
dude. But it's just even just the people, like the camaraderie with the different people in the office is just fun. Like and everybody talks. Like it's just it's a very warm, inviting place to go.
That's outstanding, man. I gotta get him on here too. I've met him a few times doing the big smoke tournaments. And speaking of drunk and like,
oh fuck yeah,
no shirt on, fucking flip flops, driving with a cigar in my mouth and a golf cart
yeah.
with a broken ankle. I did the thing with
Did
a
you?
broken ankle. I was like, no way am I backing out of this. I put my money in. I don't care. all I did was like drive the whole day long.
Oh come on.
Yeah, it's so much fun though.
So we're bringing that back next
Are you?
year. Yeah,
I'm back. I'm back in, man. My foursome is in. I can guarantee
next
that.
year.
We were like 4 years in a row. We loved it, and then shit got obviously locked
He
down.
contemplated doing it for this year, but it's just by the time all the restrictions eased up, it didn't make sense. I mean, we could have done it, I'm sure. And between all the connections of Paul, myself, and everybody else in the office, we could have pulled it through. And who's not going to say yes, right? Like if I called you and say, "Hey Tony, we're doing the big spot," I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yes.
Put me down for life. I'm in.
Yeah. Lifetime member of the Big Smoke.
If you have the Big Smoke, I'm there. Don't even just invoice me every year at the same time. I'll pay it. Right?
So with the Drive magazine, like your big thing is always the covers are very like attractive, and I always like driving downtown every day, working downtown, which is funny that I say this because me and this guy butted heads about 1,000,000 times. It was always that Pat Ducharme cover that stood out because remember
it's still on the building.
Is it still pasted
it's still
huge there?
Yeah.
I was always like, this motherfucker, but that's a great picture.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I should say with Pat and I, like, whatever. That's your job, his job, my job, and it was sometimes back in those days hard to see the difference. But now being 43, it's like, you know what, man, the guy's doing his job, and I was doing my job, and that's why. And we were the best at it.
Well, you guys were.
He represented the worst of the worst, and I arrested the worst of the worst.
He was a criminal attorney. He still is, right? He's one of the best in the country.
So it's actually kind of an honor that to do battle with him a bunch of times in the courtroom, like 1,000,000 times in the courtroom. I feel like
he's a smart man.
Yeah, he is.
He knows his shit. That
and I would, if I was in trouble tomorrow, I'd probably call him.
100%.
So
I've used him before. I'm not gonna say for what. It was nothing crazy, but he helped me out. Yeah, man. The covers were what actually caught my attention. So when Kevin had the drive in '99, he had 3 issues under his belt. And I remember seeing the one cover with Cam Gardner from AIM 800. He was the first cover.
Right, you guys reran this one not that long ago.
And it was him in the PJs with the spiked hair. Because he passed away,
He passed away, right.
Yeah. And it was him with a beard of shaving cream, spiked hair like he just woke up, PJs and just that look like he just rolled out of bed. And it was to tie in the morning as a morning show host, right? So we kept that theme of trying to tie in what that person or people did for a hobby career. Some of the great ones, I mean, going back, I mean, there was Pat Ducharme. We did the memorial cover for Constable Atkinson after he was killed on duty, where it was just a white cover and it was John Charles Atkinson, and it was the year he was born to the day he was killed.
Give me chills.
Yeah, man. And that was one of the most powerful things that we could have done, because for all the years of putting people on, we decided not to, and it was to pay tribute to John as an officer, a father, and a husband. And out of that, my relationship with Shelley has been solid, and with the kids. I mean, I haven't seen the kids in a long time, and they're all grown up now. But I mean, it was just that bond between Shelley and I, because of that, was just it will never be broken, right? There was great covers. We had a gentleman by the Kurt Satz, who used to own a company called Veteran Plumbing on Dougal.
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
Kurt used to sell like very, very high end plumbing and toiletries and showers and tubs and
next to the beer store there.
yeah, man, like serious stuff, like $10,000 toilet that flushed itself and sprayed you when you were done, right?
I've been considering getting one of those, by the way.
Oh yeah. He had it had an air dryer. It actually did.
That's the next
You just
step.
sit there and you're just taken care of, right? So the cover with him was, he shows up with this very funky contemporary European bathtub, and Kevin's like, okay, pull your shirt off. He's like, what? He goes, you're getting in the tub. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, we're gonna put you in the tub like you're having a bath. And he's like, fuck that, right? And he's like, no. And he goes, just trust me. We got him in the tub. Kevin soaped him up with suds, put it all over his hairy chest. So Kurt's bald, had a gray salt and pepper beard, and this monster like pecks of hair, right? And we got him all lathered up with the bubbles, and it was so kick ass. Like, it was one of those covers that people still talked about, years down the road. Enzo Mancuso from Tutto Restaurante on Erie Street.
Yeah.
We had him in this gigantic bowl of pasta, and it was like this massive bowl, and I shit you not, it was probably like 2 feet tall, just pasta with and a couple meatballs. And so it was him sucking one noodle, like kind of like Lady and the Tramp. So they had the one noodle in his mouth, and when he flipped open the inside shot, it was him wiping his mouth like he just cleaned the entire plate off. It was awesome, But those covers are the memorable ones, like you said, Pat. Pat was just powerful. It was him in a cigar chair, smoking a cigar in a power suit. Right? Didn't have a smile. He looked like he was gonna fucking kill somebody. Like he just was almost mafioso. Like, it just had that very powerful presence to it. Right? You didn't have to do much, but you knew when you saw it, that guy meant business. Right? And we've got a good tradition of 143 covers that we've done.
That's outstanding. That's
Yeah, man.
outstanding. And then what is the mission behind the drive? Like, what is the apps? Like, what's your purpose to these covers, and what are you trying to bring to?
We're trying to change people. Like, we're trying to, if we can help somebody with one of our articles, if we can inform somebody with one of our articles, if we can, do an article on mental health or something of that nature, and it's going to grab a reader who's in a dark spot or needs help or is too afraid to ask for help or hasn't thought about reaching out to anybody. It's that kind of stuff that really kind of moves, right? And when you can get somebody to say, hey man, I read that article, and Dr. Andrew DiNardo does a piece called Psych Drive. I get a ton of people that say, I really like that. I use that in my classroom, and I used a snippet in my lecture from her article, right? And when people remember down the road, and they still like, hey man, I read that article, so and so. To me, that's gratification, right? And it's just like, we're doing something right. And when you can have that feeling, like, the one thing the Drive has never been is an advertorial style infomercial magazine.
Right, and that's a hesitation on some of your competitors. No, I mean,
without naming it,
right? Like, that's not like throw people under the bus. And maybe if you're listening, that'd be an opportunity to, like, improve. Is because that's the vision a person who's uninformed in this area has of some of those things that come in my mailbox, right? And it upsets me.
Well, you it's like watching television, right? When you watch TV, you want to watch a hockey game. You don't want to watch a gazillion commercials in between, and you don't want to you're not watching TV to listen about a product and read about a product over and over and over, right? So the game changer is, how do you do it different, and how do you do it better? And not only do we have the writing staff of unbelievably skilled writers, very intelligent writers, we have the best photographers in the city, hands down, that do our...
Yeah, give them a show. Who are these guys? Like,
Six Lagman, Trevor Booth. Trevor and I have been working together for... Oh boy.
You're rocking the Trevor hat, actually. Right
yeah,
now,
man.
right? Yeah.
TrevorBoothPhotography.ca.
Windsor's best photographer, as I think is his tagline.
Yeah, it is. Six comes from... he's from Windsor, but he moved out to BC and was got taught the photography skills from some pretty high-end, very reputable photographers. So his resume is pretty extensive. Trevor's resume is extensive as well. He spent years traveling the world as a photographer on a cruise ship, on a national cruise ship. So he's seen some pretty wild places and photographed some pretty kick-ass stuff. I used to have Steve Parmelo, but Steve hung up his lens and got into the custom wood making, kind of like what DeFazio's doing.
Really?
It's called Flow Furniture out in Harrow, and he's doing beautiful work. So I mean,
I drive by that place all the
you know
time.
what I'm talking about? So he's still an artist.
Beautiful place.
But he just put the lens down. You know, writers, we've got Jen Rignall Strong, Matt Sainamon, Devin Mighton, Mona El Kadri, Dr. DiNardo, Andrew DiNardo. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, my designer, Marnie Robillard, is a gift. You know, she's brilliant with not only her design concepts, but she can take a new client, a new advertiser, and I really don't have to give her too much detail as far as what we're going to do with the ad. She kind of wraps her head around what would this person like to see, like what would this person, if you're a medical spa, right? You're just going to drop a logo with it, a picture, and some jargon, or are you going to add a little life to it and spice it up? She bats probably 950 all day long.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it makes my job a lot easier. It really does. It saves a shit ton of time.
That's amazing. So, would you say like, what is there ever been somebody you wanted to land and couldn't land, like in that magazine?
So, I'm a huge Toronto Maple Leaf fan.
Yeah.
Huge Toronto fan. There's 3 sports icons that I've adored and almost borderline stalked as a kid and teenager. So, first and foremost, let's go MJ, Michael Jordan. All through grade school, high school, could tell you every stat, tell you where he was born, what his middle name is, who his kids are, who his ex-wife was, right? I know Doug Gilmour was my hockey icon, and Joe Carter was my baseball icon from the Jays.
Oh, nice.
So had an opportunity to meet Michael Jordan. Couldn't find a hotel room in Florida with Joe Rocket when Bruce Parker was running Joe Rocket.
Yeah.
He said, because Bruce did the Michael Jordan motorcycle apparel for the team. So he's like, Hunter, you want to come to Orlando for Bike Week? Introduce you to MJ. Yeah. Dude, I called in an hour and a half radius from Orlando. Every single hotel was full. I begged Bruce. I'm like, dude, I'll sleep in your bathtub. Like, please, that's it, right? Didn't happen. So that's bucket list number 1, right, to meet MJ. Gilmore, I had the opportunity to meet, and I almost went like fangirl crazy, right? It's just like, compose yourself, don't be that guy. And it was just cool, right? And he was in town. He dated a friend of mine for a little while, and he was always in town quite a bit. And I always wanted to get him into the studio to shoot him, because his face is so scarred up, like from all of the fights and the hits and the sticks and just years of just abuse of playing hockey with no face mask. Just a straight on shot. And I'm like, man, what I wouldn't give to get you in the studio. And just timing sucked every time he was leaving, or he was only in town for half an hour or half a day. I mean, so that never happened. And then I got to meet Joe Carter, and Joe was one, like any of these sports guys are the guys that I really wish that I could have gotten on the cover. I think for the most part, when it comes to local people, local business people, I've been pretty fortunate enough to have a good roster of respectable people on the cover. So, knock on wood. We've got a lot of interesting things coming up.
Yeah, some cool things.
Yeah,
man, Joe Carter. I used to love Joe Carter too.
Yeah.
People don't realize that Joe Carter was actually like at the downside of his career for the when he played for the Jays. He was unreal with Cleveland.
Yeah, well, that's where he started his career, right?
Right.
So when he became the first baseman for the Jays, it was like, okay.
He was an outfielder with the Indians all those years, right?
Yep. And then he went, and he was just big. He was just a big, frumpy dude, right? And he didn't have like that Kelly Oler or Kelly Gruber physique. He wasn't in good shape. He just kind of looked like a big. He could hit the ball well, but then when he hit that game-winning home run against Mitch Williams from Philly, it just changed shit,
It's
right?
wild,
That was like, I remember as a kid watching that game at my grandfather's wake. All the men were in the one room, all the women were in, having sandwiches and crying. Everybody's watching the game on this little tiny TV, right? He hits it, place goes nuts, right? Women think, what the hell's going on in there? Joe Carter wins a home run or wins the World Series, right? So meeting him was pretty cool. And again, played it cool. We were in a business meeting of all things. It's a long story, but I was working with a construction company for 8 years while still doing the drive from 2010 to 2018. And we had a meeting in Walmart's head office in Mississauga, and Joe was with the company that we were trying to get in to do some construction work with. And I'm sitting across from him, and I'm thinking, man, this is nuts. Like, this is so cool. And I'm hearing him talk, and I'm like, man, that's Joe Carter. Like, this is so surreal, right? Laughing, just a cool guy. So I'm walking out of the office with him. I'm walking shoulder to shoulder with him. And I just said, I didn't look at him. I just said, hey, Joe. He said, yeah, man. He said, can I get a picture? He's like, yeah, dude, no problem. I said, this is pretty fucking cool. And he goes, thank you. It was just cool. And I just left it at that, right? Like, this is fucking cool. And he's like, thank you. I said, no. I said, I'm composing myself right now because right now I'm just wanting, yeah, right? So, yeah, just, I mean, those are opportunities that the drive has allowed me to do it. We had Darren McCarty on the cover. We had Rip Hamilton from the Pistons on the cover.
I love Rip. I love McCarty too.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had some phenomenal covers. Danielle Campo, the Paralympic swimmer.
Yeah,
she's been on twice. Actually, one of the first females, I think the only female to be on the cover twice. We shot her when she was 16, and we just shot her in December after she went through that traumatic experience, near-death experience after giving birth to her daughter. And it was that was our probably most responsive and famous cover that we've shot to date.
I mean, that is a wild story, and she's actually on my list of people to reach out to. That is a wild story, and
dude,
like,
it's real.
Your video story of that was outstanding too. And one of the favorite things I think that you guys do with the drive is I love when you guys post your old Windsor pictures.
The river mirror.
Yeah, I love those pictures. I love that. I don't know why I love that stuff. It gets me.
It brings you to a place where it's no longer, right? And it gets you thinking, like, man, why did they tear down those old buildings? Like I just did one on Boblo, the old dance hall. So in 1923, it was commissioned by Henry Ford to build, and they hired Albert Kahn, the architect from Detroit. They built this 50,000 square foot. Now 50,000 square feet is like a Bass Pro Shop. It's fucking huge, right? It's just massive, and it was a dance hall. So it looked like an old school kind of roller skating rink, wooden floor, but super high ceiling, just so surreal, right? And it's sitting on Boblo right now, just rotting, and it's so sad. Like you go in, and you would think that back in those days, people would get up and they danced, man. They went out and they got dressed up. They wore suits and nice dresses and hats, and they went out and they swung their wives or girlfriends around on a dance floor. And we're talking 10,000 people and dancing.
Yeah.
So imagine how hot that place must have been without air conditioning.
Yeah. I always think of It's a Wonderful Life when that. Remember the floors opening and they fall into the pool.
Yeah, 100%. So like, those things are big. They're big on social media because it brings people back again to a time that they either remember. Because there's a lot of people, and I've done photos of like the downtown core, and some of our more mature and older demographic people that are on Facebook.
No, that's a nice way of saying things. Yeah. Good job. My mom will appreciate that. Yeah, she listens to every episode. Mom, we're talking to you.
Yeah, it's just they'll remember as a kid or as a teenager going to certain stores that were downtown, like department stores, and going shopping or going there and eating at the counter. Like remember, I mean, when Zellers used to have their own restaurant.
Yeah.
But these department stores downtown used to have their own restaurant, and they had the smell to it and the feel to it, and it brings that sense of nostalgia back, and it just puts people back into a better time. I wouldn't say a better time, a time where they can go back and simpler just remember a good time, right?
Yeah.
And that, I would hope it doesn't trigger somebody into a,
a bad time.
Yeah, a really bad time.
Yeah.
Like,
Zellers.
I got locked in the basement at so and so, but it's one of those cool things, and again, people love it, right? And we get like tens of thousands of people that reach it because I do the social media, so I see, how far it goes.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's outstanding, man.
It's crazy.
It's wild that speaking of nostalgia, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So last night we're Netflix. We never get to watch TV, my wife and I. And Seinfeld, for some reason, was like up high on the thing.
Yeah,
and like, because you don't have cable TV, you don't see Seinfeld on anymore, right? So I click it and I watch episode 1, season 1, which actually wasn't that good of an episode. That came out in 1989.
Dude, we're old.
Oh my God, 1989, right? Irv? Like, and the outfits, like the men's clothes, like you're like, oh, that's ugly, but the women's clothes was.
Like the puffy shoulders.
Atrocious.
Yeah,
I'm like, what
crazy.
Is this?
And even the hairstyles.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Seinfeld's hair. We saw him do stand-up at the casino when he was in town. And on the show, his hair was like, he had a coif. Like it was like 6 inches tall, and almost like it took him like 3 hours to probably set before he went on the show. Now he's like shortcut, whatever, right? So it's, Netflix is good for older shows like the throwback shows.
Yeah.
So is Prime. So if you're into the retro stuff, Sanford and Son, Good Times.
Yeah. Can't make jokes like those anymore.
No.
Right?
Archie Bunker
days
are
Archie
done.
Bunker, yeah, man. Yeah, so I mean, if anything, I'm not a big, I like kind of curse social media, even though it's a way of life for me now. Didn't have it 5 years ago. But if anything, at least it's going to stamp me in there for my kids. Like something that they can look back on, hopefully, when I'm gone and like watch this episode. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a cool thing that'll happen.
And Dad's friend swears a lot.
Yeah, all Dad's friends. And Dad swears a lot, yeah.
No, man, like it's everything right now between the drive and, you know, being a father again at 42, having a kid who's now 5. So, you know, at 47, I'm a dad to a toddler. And, you know, I love this kid so much because he's fun, right? So everything in my life now is, you know, transitioning to the better, and it's resonating. The energy level's there. It shows in the mag. The passion's there. The care is there. Like everything that's going on right now is going really, 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 really well. So like even you asking me to come on here, I mean, thank you. Like it's an honor to be sitting in the chair. Like it's like the Dave Letterman. I guess needs no introduction, but this is cool, man. Like I appreciate it. So thank you.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's for sure. I think that's a funny way of looking at it, the Dave Letterman thing. But I think what's cool about with the drive is like, and maybe you can answer this better, is like I still would rather pick up the magazine. Mm-hmm. Like for most part, I don't read on my phone. I don't like so much time on your phone. I'd rather like go on my book. Like I don't have a Kindle. I don't read on the phone.
It's hard on your eyes, right?
Right.
And people like that tangible product.
Yeah.
You know, the saying that print is dead. You know, newspaper print I think is taken a bad shit kicking in the last year. I mean, look at the Windsor Star. They've got, you know, 6 people that work at the Star. They at one time were a powerhouse. I mean, they had a huge building downtown. You know, just environmentally, I guess it's probably better that they don't print as many as they used to. You know.
Yeah, I mean, funny stories. My Kingsville building was the Kingsville Post. So where my gym is in Kingsville was the Kingsville Post. Yep. So one side that we just expanded into, which is one of the things that's got me working so bloody hard right now. But then the side that we were originally on, everything in there was caked in ink. Like I'm talking the toilet seats, the lights, the walls. Yeah. Like unbelievable. Like cleaning that place for sure took years off my life.
And that would have stank.
Yeah.
Like, just the smell back then.
Yeah.
It would have given everybody like it'd be like huffing gas.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
like there was we were wearing masks in there at the end because we were feeling like high.
Yeah. Well,
because like, everything we were scrubbing was awful. And the back the old dark room in there too was kind of cool. And then we had all kinds of old stuff we found in there.
That's cool.
And but Post Media was still the renter on that side. But you know, obviously they've downsized everything since.
But I mean, again, it goes back to what do people want? I think magazines are a product that feel good, right? It's not intrusive. It's not oversized. It's in your hand. It's easy to read. You flip the page, right?
Yeah, put it in the recycle when you're done. You feel 100%, good about it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, some people keep them. I've got people who've used the Drive as a tabletop coffee magazine, and it's awesome.
It is a great way to like Windsor nostalgia, right?
Yeah, like, and it's you know, we've pivoted and we've gone with digital because you have to, or you're basically you know you'd be suffering if you did, right? So we produce the magazine online in its entirety. So when you go to thedrivemagazine.com and you click current issue, and you can literally take your mouse and you can roll the pages as if you were actually touching them. So you can actually curl the page, flip it. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. So if you want, it's pretty cool. So if you want to read it online, like if you're bored or you want to read in bed on your laptop or your tablet, you're good, right? We have an app that's more just for show. It's just cool to say you got an app, right? I don't think too many people are going to pick up their iPhone and read the Drive because it'd be like, you know, social media, you know, our website. There's everything that we can do digitally, we've done.
So many layers. Many layers.
It's like a big onion.
That's outstanding. So if you did want to pick up the Drive magazine, where do people find it? Like other than, so you mentioned online, thedrive.com?
TheDriveMagazine.com.
Okay, DriveMagazine.com.
So we have a printed circulation of 30,000 copies per issue. So every issue, 30,000 copies go to residential addresses throughout Essex County. So depending on postal codes, depending on housing types, demographics, we try to go to an affluent kind of neighborhood so it's supportive to our advertisers, right? We just purchased 40 magazine racks. indoor magazine racks. So they're the nice metal stands, and those will be placed at all the beer stores throughout Estes County.
Oh, nice.
Places like Adventure Bay. There's fitness clubs. Fred's Farms Fresh. There's
Love that place.
yeah. There's a ton of places, man. Like off the top of my head, we've got them listed. Like high traffic areas, Canadian Tire, Tecumseh Mall. And the nice thing with that is, if we put 100 magazines in each rack, and we go back at the end of the cycle of the life of that magazine before we refill with a new one, we'll be able to gauge who took it, right? And to me, if you took it, that means you want to read it, right?
Yeah, because
If it's still in there when I come back 6 weeks from now, we're doing something wrong,
right.
So we're gonna test the waters. We're gonna see how that works, and then again, obviously online. That's a very easy and free way to get it too.
Outstanding. So we've been talking about good businesses all day. I'd be foregone if I didn't mention the great business sponsors. This podcast is the Murray Insurance, Desjardins Insurance. If you know these guys, they're amazing.
I do.
Ian and Kara are Kingsville Garage Gym OGs, huge supporters of our community, supporters of everything like really that we do, and they offer a one-stop shop for everything you will need for insurance, your car, your home, your finances. You can reach them at Team Murray Insurance on Instagram. It's probably the best way to get them. And thank you, Ian and Kara, for constantly sticking up for us and for your customers. So yeah, man, I really appreciate you having on here. Are you coming on here? It's been
Brother,
awesome
thank
to
you.
get to know you over the last little bit.
Yeah,
and
man.
I think.
Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, sorry, 10,000. I'm getting this signal from Irv. I got my shirt and my hat on today. 10,000 clothing company. Go hit them up for Father's Day. The best sports gear, man. You should get some.
It's a nice hat.
Tango 15. Go see Tango 15, and they have the best stuff. Those pants I was wearing on the day that you came out shooting with us there was.
Where are they located?
They are online.
Okay.
So I think they're out of Salt Lake City, but they just came into Canada, and
Nice.
they are like those pants, man, are as good as Lulu, but you can wear them like. I wore mine shooting and then to a winery. That's how like
Nice.
sweet they are.
So
Yeah.
Just no need to go home and
Yeah,
get
no
changed,
need
right?
to go home. I
Just
know
throw a
you
shirt.
like to live in shorts, but
Yeah. Show off the hairy legs.
yeah, I got my shorts on today. These are
Nice.
look at that. Look at you squatting these things. Anyways, that's going off topic. But thanks for coming on here, man, today. And I loved having you. And you're a connector, man. And
Thanks,
I
man.
think that's what there's a great asset to have, and you've got it.
Thank
Like,
you.
You are like the plug. Like you like 5 people that I want to hit you up for to see if I can get on the podcast after this.
When this is done, I'm gonna give you. You said Danielle and Burroughs, no problem.
Amazing, awesome,
man.
cool, man.
Thanks,
Thank you
dude.
so much.
Talk to you.
Open out.
Now's the time to do more and be more.